Welcome back to the Perfectly Imperfect Spiritual Podcast. I'm your host, Marta the Medium, and this is a space for spirituality that stays honest, where the human experience is not edited out, where we don't ask you to rise above your life in order to be worthy of truth. We meet what's real and we let what's real reorganize us. Perfectly imperfect is not a concept here, it's the tone, it's the permission, it's the practice of returning to what is true without performance, without urgency, without self-abandonment. And today I am joined by Niko the Medium. Hello, Niko, so nice to
Hello,
have you here.
hello, Marta.
Hi, I'm going to introduce you now properly and then we'll dive into this beautiful conversation. Niko the Medium, he's a consciousness teacher, trance medium, and writer whose work explores the architecture of awareness and how it integrates with human identity. His approach is grounded, experiential, and focused on clarity rather than transcendence, emphasizing that awareness doesn't override the human self but reorganizes and stabilizes it. Niko teaches internationally through courses, mentorships, and live events, offering language and structure for experiences many people already have but don't yet fully trust. Hello again. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Marta, for having me here. It's a pleasure and an honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Where would we like to start? Well, I'm going to leave it with you. Well, I would love to start simply. What feels most alive in you, in your work right now? Where would you like to start this conversation?
I come across a lot of either students or just in conversation through podcasts, through transmissions, and the message I want to really bring across to the listeners is that awareness does not override the human self; it stabilizes it. See, people, for some reason, and this is why I believe a lot of skeptics are against spirituality. Spirituality does not remove being human. Many people secretly believe that spiritual growth means becoming calmer all the time, or never getting triggered, or always feeling loving and compassionate, or transcending difficult emotions. And when that doesn't happen, they assume they're doing spirituality wrong. See, spirituality has accidentally created a new perfectionism. Instead of trying to be the perfect person, people try to be the perfect spiritual person. So this creates extra pressure. They're thinking, why am I still anxious? Why am I still reactive? Why don't I feel peaceful all the time? But awareness doesn't arrive to fix the human self. It arrives to stand with it. See, imperfection is not a barrier to awareness. It's the environment awareness lives in. So awareness doesn't demand emotional perfection. It allows imperfection to exist without panic. It removes the fear of being human. See, growth is not becoming flawless. It's becoming less afraid of your humanity. See, and I think that's really powerful when people view it from that lens, because people think spirituality makes life harder. Believe it or not, that's what they believe. They think spiritual growth will feel expansive, magical, peaceful, even uplifting. But what they don't recognize and what they don't accept is that the first phase often feels like confusion, identity questioning, disorientation. So they immediately conclude, wait, spirituality is making my life harder. Right? Awareness doesn't make life harder. It removes the structures that were holding things together artificially. Okay, imagine moving furniture in a house. Okay, for a while, everything looks messy. Nothing is where it used to be. It feels chaotic. But the chaos is temporary reorganization. And that's where people make the mistake. They mistake reorganization for breakdown. So awareness increases honesty. Honesty feels destabilizing before it feels freeing. Stability comes after recognition, not before it. So nothing is going wrong. Something is simply rearranging. And what people
Mm-hmm.
don't also miss unknowingly to them is that real growth happens inside life. Okay? If you recognize many spiritual messages subtly imply you're going to rise above your emotions. You're going to detach from your identity. You have to let go of the ego. You have to transcend the human experience. But when people hear that and they're not used to that, it creates dissociation, self-judgment,
Mm-hmm.
inner conflict. And then they start to fear being too human. So a beautiful message is that you don't grow by leaving life. You grow by becoming steady in it.
Mm-hmm.
So real spiritual maturity actually looks like paying the bills, having hard conversations, navigating relationships, feeling emotional, showing up to responsibilities, and all being present inside all of it. So
Mm-hmm.
if awareness cannot meet you in everyday life, it isn't integrated yet. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Yeah. And for anyone who's completely new to all of those concepts, do you think you can explain what is awareness?
What is awareness? All right, let's go back. Let's break it down for everybody here. Spiritual maturity is staying human. Okay, spiritual growth isn't measured by how far we move away from life. It's measured by how present we remain in difficulty, how steady we remain in uncertainty, how available we remain in relationship. So maturity looks ordinary from the outside, but inside it feels spacious and steady. Okay, to recognize awareness, we have to first recognize that identity, the human identity, is not the enemy. That's where many people think their identity is the problem. Again, they hear ego death, let go of self, transcend identity, and they begin fighting themselves internally. But identity is simply the human interface. It helps us navigate relationships, function in the world, make meaning. It doesn't need to disappear. It needs to relax its grip. So, with that, awareness doesn't erase personality. People fear becoming detached, emotionless, less unique. But awareness doesn't flatten personality, it softens the pressure around it. Through awareness, people become more authentic, more humorous, more relaxed, more themselves, not less, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm
If more, if
thinking,
more,
sorry to interrupt
oh,
you. I've just got one question. Like for those who feel, let's say, messy or maybe activated by what you're saying, like how would you guide them back to awareness without them needing to be part of any other performance? Like if someone's acknowledging, this is the way I want to live, I really want to connect with myself, with maybe something greater than me, like what would you tell them?
okay. Awareness is the part of you that knows you're having an experience. Okay. So, to your listeners, right now, you're listening to this conversation. You can hear my voice. You can notice your thoughts about what I'm saying. You can feel your body sitting right where you are. The part of you that knows all of that is happening, that's awareness. Okay? Thoughts are things we experience. Awareness is what knows the thoughts are happening. You can notice a thought like, I'm tired, or I like this, or I don't understand this. The moment you notice the thought, something is already there observing it. That observing presence is awareness. The same is true for emotions. You can feel anxious, excited, sad, or calm, and you know you're feeling it. The knowing of the feeling is awareness. So, awareness is not mystical or special, it's the most ordinary thing about being human. It's
Mhm.
present in every moment of your life. If your life were a movie, thoughts, emotions, and experiences would be the scenes. Awareness is the screen the movie appears on. So understanding awareness matters because when people recognize it, they realize they don't have to control every thought or emotion. They can learn to relate to their experience differently instead of fighting it. Awareness is the part of you that knows you're having an experience. Thoughts, emotions, and sensations come and go, but the knowing of them is always there. And when you integrate awareness with daily life, it makes people more present, not less, more available to relationship, work, responsibility. If spirituality pulls you away from life, like I said, it's not integration yet.
Hmm. I
I hope
love
that
it.
answered your question.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I have many other questions. And
Of
if
course.
what's how would you understand or how would you explain to people integration versus bypassing or like
Okay.
anything? Yeah,
Well,
I'm curious.
let's look at it as integration versus transcendence. Okay,
Okay.
why
Yeah.
why real growth happens inside life.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to that, we said many spiritual messages suddenly imply rise above your emotions,
Mm-hmm.
detach from your identity, let go of the ego, transcend the human experience. Okay, and that's what we said before is that people start feeling it creates a fear of being too human.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's what people have to recognize that it is spiritual maturity is staying human,
Mm-hmm.
and awareness doesn't erase personality. And growth is reorganization, not replacement. Okay, people think growth means becoming someone new, replacing who they are, fixing what's broken. But growth actually looks like rearranging priorities, shifting perspective, loosening rigid patterns. See, it's the same life experienced differently. Perfection creates presence. Presence creates space. So perfection says, I must get this right. Presence says, I can stay with this. And staying with experience is what allows change to happen naturally. Awareness is the part of you that knows you're having an experience. We said that. So
Mm-hmm.
the question is, are you aware of the awareness or are you aware of your identity rejecting
Mm-hmm.
it?
And
See,
if
that's why.
someone's thinking now, how, like, who am I? How can I connect to my, let's use the term, higher self? How can I What can I do? How can I, like, I'm aware, okay, Nico, I'm aware of my thoughts, I'm aware of my feelings, but I completely feel derailed. I'm not on my path. How can I start
Yeah,
listening to myself?
100% right. Spirituality isn't overwhelming. Misunderstanding it is. See, when awareness opens without structure, people think something is wrong, but nothing is wrong. Something is reorganizing. The key is to remove the pressure from the question first,
Mm-hmm.
because most people ask it from anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when someone asks, "Who am I?"
Mm-hmm.
They usually mean, "How do I find my true self?"
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, how do I connect to my higher self? How do I become who I'm meant to be? But the hidden assumption is my higher self is somewhere else and I need to reach it.
Mm-hmm.
So the first step is gently correcting that. Your higher self is not somewhere you need to travel to. It is the deeper aspect of you that's already present, but quieter than your thoughts and your fears. So many people think they need special meditation or
Mm-hmm.
rituals or techniques or psychic ability. But the real obstacle is noise and effort. The challenge is not connecting to the higher self. The challenge is that the thinking mind is very loud, very fast,
Mm-hmm.
and constantly trying to solve everything. So the experience of the higher self gets buried under overthinking, self criticism, urgency, fear of doing life wrong. See, based on all of our conditioning and all of these religious doctrines and all of these naysayers, people expect fireworks or mystical experiences. But instead, they should recognize that connection to the higher self also often feels like calm clarity,
Mm-hmm.
quiet knowing, a sense of steadiness, a feeling of this is right without overthinking. It usually feels simpler and quieter than people expect.
Mm-hmm.
Less dramatic, more steady. So instead of asking, how do I connect to my higher self? A more helpful question for they could ask is, when do I feel most calm, clear, and steady? Because these moments are glimpses of alignment. When people understand walking in nature, being deeply present with someone, creative flow, moments of deep honesty, this makes it real. So connecting to your higher self is not an achievement or a destination, it's a relationship that grows as you learn to trust quiet clarity more than loud fear. You don't have to become someone new to connect to your higher self. You just have to learn to trust the part of you that already feels steady and clear. Your, your higher self isn't somewhere else. It's the quieter, steadier part of you beneath the noise of overthinking. Connection grows when we learn to trust calm clarity more than urgent fear.
Mm-hmm.
How's
I
that?
love it. No, I just love it. Well, Spirit just showing me the analogy. Like, it's like, ask Nico now, talk about mediumship, because it's sometimes like there's that connection here as well. So we like less being, well, the more you allow yourself just to be and trust, like, yeah, the better. That's, I want to say human experience, but the connection, it all happens naturally. I'm just curious about the mediumship aspect, because I know so many people operate, especially at the beginning when they start developing, through the
Right.
lens of fear, and they keep again reaching and trying and
Right.
doing more. So I'm curious about your
Absolutely. Great question. Thank you. Mediumship does not start with spirit. It starts with awareness.
Mhm.
That's a very powerful reframing, because most people think the path is spirit, mediumship, awareness. But the real order is awareness, higher self, mediumship,
Mhm.
right? So, first, connection to higher self equals learning to quiet the thinking mind, relax effort, trust subtle perception, feel calm clarity. And what do those skills create? The exact internal conditions needed for mediumship. Okay, when someone learns to notice awareness and connect with their higher self, they're learning how to listen without forcing. That same listening is what allows mediumship to develop. So, mediumship is not a separate ability, it's a natural extension of the same inner shift. When identity relaxes and awareness moves forward, attention becomes steady. Imagination stops forcing. Listening deepens. Subtle impressions become noticeable. So, this creates the condition where intuition strengthens, perception becomes quieter, subtle impressions feel clearer, right? So, mediumship begins when the mind stops trying to produce information and learns how to receive it,
Mhm.
right? This doesn't mean everyone becomes a medium, but the internal shift that allows mediumship is the same shift that allows deeper intuition, creativity, and connection. So when people view it that they don't have to become a medium, mediumship becomes less mystical,
Mhm.
more human, and more understandable. And now let's connect it back to the higher self. The higher self teaches us how to listen inwardly.
Mhm.
Mediumship is what happens when that listening expands outward. Connecting to the higher self teaches us how to listen without forcing, and mediumship is what happens when the same listening expands beyond ourselves.
Mhm.
And if mediums recognize that, there's a lot more trust and less doubt through their identity for their ability.
Mhm.
Would
I
you
love
agree?
it. Yeah. And if anyone is, well, listening here, who is at the stage of developing, I truly believe we never stop developing, but he still maybe like who feels like she is still struggling, like by removing that terminology and then just allowing yourself to experience. Well, the human part, I feel like you talking about the mediumship being, well, maybe I'm adding something, part of the human experience. It is like by living fully, by having those human experiences, then we deepen the awareness. And I hope many people are going to realize that. Start by quieting the mind and, yeah, being
Definitely.
with
You know, you,
yourself.
you touched on something really, really important, that mediums feel they struggle. And this is, I get this a lot in circles and courses and in everything. They, even if they hear this new lens, this new concept, they still struggle. They still, they may not say it, and even your listeners may not say it, but they secretly may be thinking, I try and nothing happens. Or
Mm-hmm.
I doubt everything. I think I'm making it up. And then the biggest question I come across, they ask, why is this so hard?
Mm.
But you see, struggling as a medium is actually the most normal part of mediumship, because people think the difficulty means they're not gifted, or they're blocked,
Mm-hmm.
or they're doing something wrong. But what they're not noticing is that exact struggle is actually the transition phase. See, the real challenge is not spirit communication. It's the human mind learning to stop gripping experience. And that goes back to what you said about the human aspect. Mediumship asks the mind to do something unfamiliar. Stop producing, stop controlling, stop proving, stop rushing for certainty, which we do as humans all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the mind doesn't like that. The struggle is not with spirit, it's with uncertainty. So the biggest struggle for mediums is self-doubt and the pressure to be right, which, if you look closely, is the same exact struggles we have through the human existence.
Mm-hmm.
Goes hand in hand. So for the mediums, when the mind says, what if this is wrong? What if I'm making this up? What if I fail? It tightens attention and blocks subtle perception. See, subtle perception appears in relaxed attention. Pressure and urgency makes attention tight and noisy. This recognition reframes the entire struggle. Instead of treating doubt as a problem, soften it. Doubt doesn't mean you're not connecting. All it means is that your human mind is trying to protect you from uncertainty. People expect mediumship to grow through more techniques, more practice, more effort. But growth actually happens through more relaxation, more trust,
Yes,
more,
tell more about that, please.
yeah, more comfort with not knowing. See,
Mm-hmm.
mediumship develops as the mind becomes comfortable not being in control.
Mm-hmm.
So, struggling doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're learning how to listen in a completely new way. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
beauty of it. That's why being human is so powerful.
Mm-hmm. So, do you think allowing ourselves to be human will help people to enhance their mediumship? For those who have been overdoing development classes, who have been like trying, let's call it, too much, do you think just
Yes.
loosening the grip, softening, will actually, well, I want to say do the opposite, but actually allow the person to become
Uh,
aware, and I want to say connect so much more, to hear and to sense so much more.
Absolutely. And this is a really important idea that you're picking up on, which is beautiful. Thank you for bringing it in. Many humans who are seeking to be mediums, let's say, put it that way, they think they must become calmer, or like you said earlier, more spiritual or more perfect, or less emotional and less human
Mm-hmm.
in order to be better mediums, right? But the reality is much more relieving. Allowing yourself to be human actually strengthens mediumship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Mediums often feel pressure to be right. Think about that. To be confident, to be calm, to
Mm-hmm.
be impressive, to not make mistakes, to not get the no. So
Mm-hmm.
they start trying to perform spiritually instead of relaxing into it, right? And this creates tension, self-monitoring, fear of failure, pressure to control the experience. Okay, all of which again tighten attention, and a tight attention blocks subtle perception. Okay, mediumship depends on relaxed attention, openness, specifically trust, emotional honesty. Be honest with yourself too. Comfort with uncertainty. When someone allows themselves to be human, they stop performing, they stop focusing, They stop pretending to know. They stop trying to be perfect, and their nervous system relaxes. Now, that's key. When the
Mm-hmm.
nervous system relaxes, that's when perception softens, listening deepens, impressions become easier to notice. So humanity becomes the environment mediumship grows in.
Mm-hmm.
Mediumship doesn't grow in pressure, it grows in safety.
Mm-hmm.
So when people allow mistakes, they allow doubt, imperfection, and learning, they create internal safety. And safety allows subtle perception to emerge. So, mediumship does not ask us to become less human, it asks us to become more comfortable being human.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, allowing ourselves to be human reduces pressure and creates safety. And mediumship grows in relaxed attention, not perfection.
Mm-hmm. And you've touched upon something important, well, many important things, but uh, would you say, or maybe you will disagree, that one of the foundations of us being able to reach the altered state of consciousness is actually regulating our nervous system and really creating the sense of safety? And I don't know, it keeps coming as something important to discuss here.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Oh no no no! I just like I'm not. Yes, no. I think it's the key, and it's just yeah.
I'm gonna, I'm gonna,
Everything
I'm
keeps
gonna
coming
include
back.
you now. I'm doing all the talking.
I agree with my own
Okay, wonderful,
thoughts and.
wonderful. Okay, so regulating the nervous system is not the goal of altered states,
Mhm,
but it is one of the most reliable foundations that makes it accessible and safe.
mhm,
Okay, so let's first focus on why the nervous system matters. Okay, every experience we have, thinking, emotion, perception, intuition, even trance mediumship, happens through the body. If the nervous system is highly activated, stressed, hypervigilant, trying to control outcomes, then attention again becomes tight and defensive. And tight attention is not good at subtle perception. So when the nervous system feels unsafe, the brain prioritizes survival, not subtle perception.
mhm,
So the system moves into problem solving, scanning for danger, controlling the future, which makes altered states harder to access. Okay? Altered states require relaxed attention. Altered states like trance, deep meditation, flow, intuitive perception share one key. Attention becomes relaxed and steady. And relaxed attention naturally appears when the nervous system feels safe. Altered states don't come from forcing the mind, they come from creating enough safety that the mind stops gripping,
mhm,
right? So, this theory, if you want to call it that, removes the special ability myth.
mhm,
Instead of a special talent, psychic gift, rare ability, view it as a natural human capacity supported by safety and relaxation. And that's why altered states feel accessible, understandable, and less intimidating. You
mhm.
understand?
I love it. Less intimidating. Yes.
100%. You don't want. I'm not. mm, Regulation is not mandatory because altered states can happen in dysregulation. Okay, that's
Mhm,
why altered states happen sometimes in trauma, in shock, etc.
mhm,
But those states are unstable, they're overwhelming, they're hard to integrate. So,
mhm,
nervous system regulation makes altered states stable and supportive instead of overwhelming.
mhm,
You understand? So, one of the foundations for safely accessing altered states is nervous system regulation. When the body feels safe, attention relaxes. And relaxed attention is the doorway to deeper states of awareness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I hope I
Could you
didn't
share?
go
No,
too
no, no,
far.
no, no. It's. I love it. Could you share one of your personal stories? How did you become a trance medium?
Oh my goodness. Now it's to me, huh? Well, I didn't start because I was chasing spiritual experiences. I started because I noticed how many people were having experiences without language or structure to understand them. So what interested me was clarity and stability, not extraordinary experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's I suppose it's when you're not looking for something, it arrives.
Mm-hmm.
You see, I mean, I did have my own personal experiences when I was younger, and then when I lost my cousin in an accident that we were in, and then just certain moments throughout my journey, which I write about all of them in my books. These books that Spirit is assisting me to write. And when I did look into what intrigued me, it was from the desire of my human identity. So I was interested in past life regression, in Reiki, in angel oracle cards. So I started developing into those, but I still wasn't listening to where my essence was guiding me to develop,
Mm-hmm.
because those modalities, evidential mediumship and trance, is the ones that I grew up listening to my friends and family and my religious background as being fake and devil
Mm-hmm.
worshiping and what have you. So I stayed away from them due to my own conditioned mind. But then when I started, I pretty much accidentally stumbled across an evidential circle that I thought was a teaching, and I was on the spot to give it a shot, and I
Mm-hmm.
was 100% accurate the first time out. I'm like, how's that? Beginner's luck, they say. It's because my mind, my human identity was not demanding results. Ignorance is bliss. I know what I was doing, and that's when awareness was coming through perfectly, and I give a great reading. So it took me about a year and a half to duplicate it, because I recognized I had to let go, or soften the identity and trust that guidance from spirit coming through. That in turn led me to trance, and then that's where it it connected the dots, because the collective that speaks with me now in trance is actually a collective that appeared to me in the vision when I was 6 or 7 years old.
I
So
love it.
it was meant to
Mm.
happen.
I'm feeling so emotional, and I started feeling when you mentioned I've allowed myself. I started listening to my essence,
Yes.
and that's just everything, and how blissful, how peaceful it can feel, and then the coincidences. Of course, there are no coincidences that like led you be in this
No.
circle, and this
Yes.
is so
It's,
beautiful.
it is beautiful. And what people don't understand is they they've been conditioned to recognize trance as dangerous, and they fear it. And that's why they place judgment and criticism upon it. But if you really go back to humanity's history, trance mediumship is the purest form of communication. And because no intermediary is necessary, the religious institutions ban trance. So
Mm,
they can control power. They can have power over the masses. So not only did they reject trance, they instilled fear of trance, claiming it's devil worshiping and it's false idol worshiping and whatever. This is not even accurate, because what people, those especially who fear and question trance, are not recognizing is that trance is relaxed attention.
mhm,
Awareness moves forward and effort drops. And most people experience trance daily. Deep listening, creative flow, getting lost in the conversation. That's trance. That's that altered state. And we all pass through the trance state when we go to sleep and when we awaken. So it's the same thing. We just trance mediums are just focusing on that altered state rather than running away from it.
mhm.
That's the
Could you tell
difference.
more about trans mediumship? I love it. And I remember, and I've talked with a couple of guests on this podcast as well. I had some own fears as well at the beginning of my journey because I didn't know about, well, first of all, I didn't know anything about mediumship. And it also happened that spirits put me in those circles. But
Yes.
then trance mediumship, I had that perception. This is again what you're mentioning, fear that I'll not be in control of my body, that I'll be taken
Right.
over by spirit. But because I've heard those things,
Right. Right.
uh, and I guess it's awful when institutions, people try to control us and
Yeah.
don't allow us to actually
Exactly right.
experience
Exactly right.
this.
And when they do it for a century or something, it just becomes the law without questioning it. Trance mediumship is a state where the medium relaxes their normal thinking mind and allows their awareness to move forward. So communication from the spirit world can come through more directly. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, people imagine trance as possession, as losing
Mm-hmm.
control, as going unconscious. It,
Mm-hmm.
it, it it doesn't mean I disappear or lose awareness. I'm still present and aware. What
Mm-hmm.
changes is how much effort the thinking mind is using.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if we look at it as the normal everyday state, thinking mind is active, constantly interpreting, constantly judging, constantly trying to control. So in the trance state, effort relaxes, attention steadies, listening deepens, and information is received rather than produced. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of trying to think of what to say, I'm listening in a very focused and relaxed way. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In evidential mediumship, the medium is fully in control and reporting what they perceive.
Mm-hmm.
In trance, the medium steps back more and allows communication to flow more directly. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
think of it as a spectrum of blending, not a switch.
Mm-hmm.
Right, trance is actually a very steady and grounded state. It feels calm, focused, and deeply present. So trance mediumship isn't about leaving the body or losing control. It's about relaxing effort so communication can happen more naturally.
Mm, love it. No, well, I haven't a very well. It's not a popular opinion, but I've shared this here before as well. Like spirit put me in different circles, and I'm so grateful for every single experience. But I studied in different spiritualist churches as well, and when I started listening to my own essence, I had to leave.
Yeah,
And it feels to me that I'm like in between because I go deeper and I'm able to connect with spirit, let's use this terminology, at a so much deeper level when I soften, when I don't have expectations in my logical mind that I have to deliver information in a particular order. Is it a male female passing, because so that's been the biggest struggle. I'm like, how can I connect with
right.
spirit and be there and then still try and control? So in I just couldn't grasp that. So I guess I understand why there are those organizations and why they teach in that
Yeah,
very rigid way, but leaving those organizations allowed my mind, normally using the terminology, I had various internal breaks and I've managed to like
right.
get rid of them, and it just became so much like easier, the connection, and more natural, what you're saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a great point. We don't leave spiritual teachings or institutions or courses because they were wrong. We leave them because their role changes, right? Spiritual teachings are not meant to be permanent homes like the SNUI and other organizations. They're meant to be bridges,
Mm.
right? Think about that. At the beginning of a spiritual journey, people feel confused, curious,
Mm-hmm.
searching, open, but uncertain. So teaching provides language,
Mm-hmm.
structure, reassurance, and direction. right? So they
Mm-hmm.
help people realize, hey, you're not alone, and
Mm-hmm.
their experiences make sense, and there is something deeper to explore. So
Mm-hmm.
teachings are incredibly valuable at those early stages,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then what happens is that someone becomes more familiar with awareness, intuition, inner steadiness, that what you're saying, listening to your spirit team, they start to notice something subtle. They don't need as much external guidance, not because they know everything, but because they begin trusting their own inner orientation.
Mm-hmm.
So at first, teachings help us learn how to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Later we realize the listening is happening already inside us.
Mm-hmm.
You see? So the role of teacher shifts, right? Teachers move from authority to reference, from answers to companionship, from
Mm-hmm.
direction to reflection, right? People start asking, what should I believe? And they start asking, what feels true in my own experience? That's beautiful. This is not rejection. This is maturation. They mature now. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. At first, you need the training wheels.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, you don't remove them because they were bad. You remove them because you've learned balance,
Mm-hmm.
right? So spiritual growth gradually moves people from external authority to internal trust. And that shift is uncomfortable at first. It means fewer clear answers, more responsibility, more self trust. But it's beautiful because it also brings more steadiness, more authenticity, and more freedom. So, spiritual teachings help us find our way to spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, they help us trust that we can walk on our own. And that's why they're out there. And that's why they're beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I love it how you're talking about the well stages
No,
of.
you started it.
Uh-huh. I love what I started. It feels so expansive, but
Yes.
and the word freedom, and I truly experienced that state where I didn't want that structure anymore. I'm like, no, like get rid
Right.
of the structure. Allow me just.
Yeah, because you were listening. It taught you how to listen, but now you were listening to your own team.
Hmm.
You see, if we don't have some kind of guidance or direction, someone to stabilize us, our human identity will constantly brush off what we think we hear as imagination.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're always asking, well, is that spirit or is that me? After a while,
Mm-hmm.
you recognize you are listening, you always have been listening, and you attune to it more. That's why we have intuition throughout our journey. Intuition is direct guidance from your higher self. And notice how many times in your life you received the intuition, but you went with your logical thinking and then regretted it. Oh, if I only did that, I knew I should have done that. I just had this feeling, right? Intuition
Mm-hmm.
is very good.
What else do you feel it's important to discuss during this episode?
Hmm. What's important to discuss?
Or what you would like to? Doesn't have
It's
to be
it, it,
important.
it, it's all important right now. Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. Let's take everything that we spoke about, everything, this whole spectrum, and let's ask one question to your listeners.
Mm-hmm.
How do we live this in real life?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So far we spoke about awareness, identity, trance,
Mm-hmm.
imperfection, integration. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this actually help people day to day?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I'm certain, if not 10%, probably 30, 40% of your listeners will say, hey, you know what, Marta, this sounds beautiful, but what does it mean for my real life?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think the natural question after all of this, how does this actually help someone live their everyday life? This is where everything becomes practical and hopeful. If we speak to how awareness changes relationships, okay, they become less, there's less reactivity, there's more listening, there's less need to be right, there's more patience and compassion. So awareness, when awareness stabilizes, people don't become detached they become more available, right? When they notice that now there's less urgency to fix everything, more comfort with uncertainty, more space between thoughts and reactions, people often notice they don't spiral the same way. There's more space before reacting, right? When they're recognizing decision making as uh, less pressure to find the perfect answer, more trust in quiet clarity, less second guessing. They'll also notice that emotions still happen, but they move through more naturally, less fear of feelings. So emotions stop feeling like emergencies. See, if they take all of this into consideration with everything we've discussed, hopefully it grounds everything. It gives them hope. It
Mm.
makes our conversation useful. It leaves your listeners feeling supported. So, and most importantly, it brings spirituality back into ordinary life,
Mm.
right? The biggest change people notice is simple. Life feels more livable. Not perfect, not easy, but more steady and more honest. Right? You don't have to become someone new to grow. You just have to stop bracing against being human.
Mm. Mm. And what's the final message that you would like to leave the viewers and listeners with? Yes, let's.
Yeah. You know what? I think I'm going to just repeat that. I liked it.
Yeah, I like it.
you,
I like
you
it.
you you don't have to become someone new to grow. You just have to
Mm.
stop bracing against being human. Because if
Mhm.
I think when people hear that, they can see themselves in it. And I think that's important to remember. You know, your essence before you're the human identity. So stop bracing against being human. And I think that'll open that doorway to you remembering your essence.
Mhm.
Would
Beautiful.
you
And
agree?
oh, I agree. I just love it. I'm in tears. I'm like,
Ah,
I'm very emotional. Like, you spoke to my soul.
that's
Um,
beautiful.
what are your current offerings? How can people work with you? Where can they find you? And of course,
Oh
I'm going to add
yes.
all of the links to the description of the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, NikoTheMedium.com is the website. Niko, NikoTheMedium.com. That's that's the hub. That's where everything is. Um, there's courses if they're interested in learning trance or evidential, or multiple courses come up throughout the year. Um, there are free circles. They're all welcome to join. It's Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. America, this way is right in the middle. You can figure out Pacific,
Mm-hmm.
UK. Wednesday is trance development. Thursday is evidential mediumship development. And Sunday is just an open talk for an hour. You don't have to have any experience for any of these. It's all levels of welcome. And even if you don't follow me on Facebook, Niko Medium, on the website itself, under the courses section, there is a button to click that directs you straight into the Zoom room. So you don't have to seek it.
Mm.
We offer services where if you wanted to book a session 75 minutes and speak and receive guidance and ask questions from my team through trance, it's a direct one-to-one conversation, you in essence. I'm not even in it, I'm not included. Or trance evidential, bring through loved ones and have them deliver their message directly through me. We offer those. Even the past life regression I still offer, that I was telling you
Mm-hmm.
earlier. So there's a lot of opportunities. And also the most important that I do encourage all your listeners is just go on the website. If you have any questions, if you're uncertain about your direction, and just book a free 30-minute consultation. And I'll help answer any questions you have, help guide you. Just this is based on my own experience, the skeptic from New York who became a spiritual mentor, a
Mm.
seeker. So nobody will be much more of a skeptic than I ever was. So I feel your pain. I'm walking in your shoes because I've already walked this. I am relatable. So any questions you may have, any uncertainty, if you feel lost, I assure you you're not. It's just a transition. Book the 30-minute free consultation and I'll help you any way I can. And then, of course, my books. Absolutely. On the website, on the first page, is the link to the books. These books are really beautiful because I didn't write them. I don't take credit for it. They're all spirit led. It was a collaboration with spirit, and they're wonderful. It's meaningful. I wrote 3 already. I'm on the 4th. I think I'm going to write 10, which is nuts. And the second book, people feel the emotion, like Marta's feeling the emotion, speaking to her soul. That's what that second book does. The third book is very powerful, and you walk out feeling integrated. The first book is geared more toward recognizing what we believe because we're taught to believe it, and we think it's the truth, and why it's not. So they're all beautiful books in their own, and they all have to do with the higher self and recognizing your higher self. So I feel very honored that I was offered a small role to bring it out, created for this human reality, and I'm very proud of them because they're not mine. So I'm always there for you guys. Just come to the website, NikoTheMedium.com. How's that, Marta?
Perfect. Perfectly imperfect, imperfectly perfect.
I love
Thank
it.
you. Thank you
I
so much,
love it.
Niko, for coming to the podcast, for having this conversation with me. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for the opportunity. The honor was all mine. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
maybe another time we'll do a trance demonstration. We'll invite my team
Yeah,
to be your guest.
why not? Yes, let's explore that. Thank you. And I want to say thank you to all of the viewers and listeners. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.